And I'm just going to check, make sure I have I'm just going to keep an eye on my tablet to make sure that we're live. So this is the high production value bit. There we go. So, Hugo, you just got to bear with me here. I think we may be live. I'm just checking now.
I'm checking as well.
You want to check YouTube and I'll check Facebook?
Yeah. Yeah, live now.
Okay. No, I don't want to invite friends. Okay, so videos. Oh, we will see. I don't know if we're live or not.
We're live on YouTube, buddy.
We're live on YouTube, so we are reaching the masses as we speak. Whether we're reaching, you know why? Let me edit. Okay, and what time is it? Okay. There we go. All this production stuff.
I've just sat here and I haven't got a clue what you're doing. Just totally naive to the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm just going to re-add the Facebook thing. Facebook, go live. All right. Magic. So, can you hear me okay? Can you see me okay? Is there any issue?
I can hear and see you just fine.
No delay. My voice is fine. Everything's...
At the minute, we're okay. Fingers crossed.
There we go. So, Huw, reawakening, my friends.
I know.
I think you and I decided that we were recently going to put a bit more energy into this casual broadcast that we had. And I think just for anybody who watches this, and I think at this stage, I think it's safe to say posthumously, because right now we have, let's see, 0 viewers. So just keep an eye on that.
Okay, here we go.
So this is sort of the beginning of the new launch, and I think what we wanted to do is put a bit more effort into it. And I think we're going to go into a bit more detail later. But what we're going to be working to do with our schedule is we will be doing right now. I think we decided Sundays moving forward. So I think we're going to do this again on Sunday. Is that right, or is it next Sunday?
Yeah, no, I think that's the plan. We're going to try and work for a date because you're working Monday to Friday, and you know the weekends work quite well. So we'll have a look at doing the next one on the Sunday.
Okay. So with that being said, we're going to be doing Sundays regularly. Thursday, it was just something we wanted to jump in and do a bit of an intro broadcast. Now we're going to be streaming this right now on Facebook and on YouTube. If, let's say, we see more people joining, we could also add it to Periscope or Twitter. So Twitter and Periscope are one and the same now. And I'd like to do that at some point if we have people that are interested, or I may even swap between Facebook and Periscope. Once the live video is made, I'm actually going to pull it back down, or we're going to pull it back down. Who am I kidding? I'm doing the technical stuff here. So I'm going to pull it back down. And then I'm going to put it up as an edited video. I think that gets more views. But by all means, if people do join the conversation, we may start keeping those live streams up so people can see them in real time. It may take me a day or two just to go through them, edit them, and get them back on. I think right now I'm just going to upload them. So is that my camera going?
It is.
Oh, technology. You can hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Yeah.
There's something flashing.
Camera's going. See, this is what I thought I'm going to try to use this camera on my phone because it looks the business. I have a feeling I'm going to be swapping cameras here.
You do what you need to do, mate.
All right. So I just wanted to, this was actually a test of the emergency protocols.
Oh, okay.
So, well, let's give it another go. If not, I'm going to go to my computer setup. And then if that fails, I'm going to have to buy some more tech.
Yeah, that's what you want, really.
Yeah. Well, that's with the microphone. And part of me's hoping this thing isn't going to work. So I can have a nice little thing here. So anyway, yeah, so we're going to be releasing on Facebook and on YouTube for the time being. As we get more viewers, we are going to then maybe keep it as a live stream. But for right now, I think we just wanted to kind of jump in and get started. And I thought, what better way to do it than just to see how you're getting on, because we haven't really caught up in a few days. So what's going on, Huw?
What's going on, Shawn? Yeah, I mean, I think since our chat, I've been thinking about my purpose in life. I think it's been quite an in-depth couple of days for me. I've just been really focusing on what I want to do with my life, which I think we're going to come to at some stage, but brings us to the point of actually doing this podcast. Yeah. In that I love my day-to-day job. I love investing on the side, which allows me, quite a comfortable lifestyle. So I'm at the point where I'm not rich, but money isn't too much of a problem for me. So, now I have time and I've got that freedom. I want to do that. I want to spend my time doing things that I really value and that I love doing, that I would do for free or pay to do. And one of those things that kind of came to mind very recently, which kind of brought this reawakening, was thinking about hanging out with my buddy Shawn, and talking about life, shooting the shit, maybe some silly jokes, maybe some really serious content that we talk about, and trying to take this whole bearded philosophy reawakening more seriously, and just to see what we could do with it, really. I'm really dedicated to giving this a full go. As such, this week I've spent a few days actually doing some journaling exercises, focusing on, there was this mini course I did on creativity, all to try and kind of get my juices flowing to see, how I could kind of better serve this platform. So yeah, it's been for me, it's been a fascinating week, mate. I've really got a huge amount out of it. So yeah, I'm excited to share some of the things I've found, and I'm excited to hear what your week's been like. So how's it been for you, buddy?
It's been, I think it's been uneventful. Is about, we're still getting used to life without Kai. So if you look there, there's Kai. We lost Kai about a month ago now. So we're just getting used to life without Kai. And I think for the same reasons you said, this has kind of come at a good time because the world is on fire. And I think if you watch, I do have a few of the other episodes that we've aired still on the channel. But for those who don't know, who haven't seen, I'm, you may be thinking I'm speaking from the States and Huw is from Britain. I've actually moved to the United Kingdom about 14 years ago. And I think when you mentioned doing this, I guess, full bore, I think before it was just a bit of a fun outlet where I can talk about things and have a voice. And more so now than ever, I think I've been seeing a lot of what's going on, and I don't want to live in echo chambers. I want to be able to constructively share what I'm thinking, and I really struggle with the vices of, let's say, a social media post. And I'm curious to get your take on that. And I think that's part of, whenever we hang out, it's hours of just us talking about things. And I wanted to open that up. I wanted this to be part of that creative outlet. And I think when you came to me and said, you know what, let's do this properly, I was properly excited about it. I could buy more tech. That was the best bit of it, because I have a bit of a problem with that.
You do?
Yes,
that's true.
So yeah, I mean, the week's been good. I'm sort of I've been fighting with losing weight for years, and I've just sort of kept it this weight. I lose about 6 pounds and I gain 6. And I think with Kai going, we've just sort of had a bit of a party atmosphere. So in the last couple of weeks, I've gotten back into, I stopped going to my exercise group. So we were doing it on I guess, Zoom. So we've just started getting back into that today. And then I've booked a full day. So you may hear about golf from time to time on this broadcast. So just so you know, this is the camera and this is Huw. So I'm talking to you and I'm talking to the audience. So this is the third wall. Yeah. So I kind of like that, actually. That's pretty good. Huw, audience. Huw, audience.
Oh, well, for me, it's just the same, right? It's just you and the audience is the same. That's
it is. But if I wanted to say something funny, then I can turn here and say something funny.
Okay.
And that's like such a creative joke. I think people are going to be sticking around just for that.
Just for that.
Yeah, so you may hear me talking about golf from time to time. I've actually booked a full day session with an elite coach next Friday. Because I want to. So one of the goals I have is to work. So golf is a passion of mine. I know you know that, Huw, but for anybody watching, I'm making sure they're seeing it. That's pretty cool. And for these people here, what I want to do is I want to have a job in golf because it's my passion.
Really? That's awesome.
So for me, I want to go through that process of being. So if, for those who don't know golf, well, I'm in my early 40s, and this is definitely a midlife crisis for me. There's no two ways about it. And I want to become a scratch golfer in the next 10 years, and then at the age of 50, not retire, but I want to transition and finish my working life in golf. So that's what's going on with me this week.
No, that's awesome. I didn't realize that is this quite new then, because
I saved this for the
Oh, how exciting.
Broadcast,
so you get to share it with me and our new friends.
Yeah, so it's a full day. It's quite intensive. I'll be on the course for 2 hours and 4 hours short game. So for me, it's just like a lot of technology involved and learning about it, about the swing, about what I'm doing to a greater degree. Because when you go and do a lesson for 1 hour, you have somebody who's seeing you in a fragmented way. Now, one of the problems in golf for someone like me who wants to get better, and I thought about having a side channel to do this. There's a lot of people my age that are passionate about golf, but if you're a junior, so a lot of professional golfers started, and I don't want to be a tour pro, but a lot of professional golfers started when they were 8, 9. I think Henrik Stenson said he started golf late in life. Any guesses as to what age that was?
Late in life, would it be like late teens?
Well, I think he said something like 12 or 11 or something like that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I'm 40, little bit 42, a little bit behind the curve on that. And I think when you look at people my age, it's pointless to have that level of training. And for me, I'm working. I have things to do. So the next best thing for me was to do a full day, because in a single day of lessons, you just have a very sort of, I'm just going to do what I can with you for an hour, and we're going to give you as much information. And by the time you start getting somewhere with anything, you then aren't seeing them for another month or 2 months. So the full day is what I'm looking forward to. So that's me right now.
Well, look, I know you've got plans for today, and I think we should definitely try and keep to the schedule that we kind of ironed out. But I'm really fascinated, and I think maybe some of our new friends will be fascinated too with why suddenly you've got a guy that's working a 9 to 5 like a lot of other people. You work from home, you've got a cool job, but it is hard work. So what has prompted you to have this midlife crisis that you say, and to go down the golf route? What's changed? Why not do this? Because you said starting golf 42, so I got to call you out on your first bit of bullshit, because and not that you bullshit, by the way, I shouldn't have said it like that, but you've been playing golf for a few years now. You haven't started at 42. You've been playing for a while. You're a good golfer.
I know where this is going, but keep going. I know where you're going with this.
No, I'm not taking it there. I'm not taking it back to the time when I used to beat you and hold the course record. We're not going to talk about that today.
Yeah, the chip and putt.
But the chip and putt? But no, I mean, genuinely, mate, what's changed? Because you've been interested in golf for a while, and now all of a sudden, what's kind of provoked that? Because it's a big move, and I think it's awesome. And I think everyone in the world should be looking to kind of follow their passion and work in their love. So what's been that instigator for you?
So I think, and you've known me for a while, and I think I've been a bit of a searcher. And I think one of the things that happened when I was actually a lot better at golf when I was in my late teens, early 20s. I was a bit of an athlete, and I just played with total freedom, and I was really passionate about the game. And then it's 14 years ago, my anniversary's in a week. 14 years ago, I got married and moved to another country. And I didn't have much means. I was working just, jobs that I could get. I was in retail recruitment as a headhunter, and that was painful. And then I moved and worked for a company that you and I worked at for a little while. And that's where we met. And again, the job that I worked in with you was a job that I loved, but it wasn't something that I was really passionate about. And I think, and this may segue or dovetail into some of the things you're going to talk about, but I think when we worked together, I was always trying to find something that made me happy. Because whilst I was enjoying my job, I wanted I wanted to find that thing that I couldn't sleep in to miss. So right now with my job, and I love my job right now, I work from home. The company I work for is like family. You couldn't pay me double to leave that company for another company. It's not happening.
You've been very positive about it.
Yeah. But it still isn't something like I'm still not jumping out of bed to do my job every day. And I have, just to give you a bit of insight here, I don't know if you'll be able to see it on the camera, but there's calluses there.
I can see. Yeah.
I probably hit 200 golf balls a day into my net out back. And we had this lockdown. And because of the lockdown, we got the net because of the lockdown. So the wife who golfs now signed off on the golf cage and net and the proper mat because we were going to be locked in and I was going to work on my game. And I had to rip myself away from hitting golf balls to do everything else. I'm going to go to bed. I'm thinking about it. I'm planning on Saturday. I've been thinking about it all week. This thing on Friday next week. I'll be there for 6 hours and I'm not going to be tired after 6 hours. I'll hit 500 golf balls and I'll be sweating, but I'm still going. And that just gave me the realization that this is kind of where I need to be. And as a member of a golf club too, I think I've spoken to you about it a little bit. I manage the communications and the technology because it's golf and there's a bunch of old white dudes running it who know nothing. Like we had a committee meeting and I started at the committee and I built an app for them. And we got into the presentation. I had my tablet. I hooked it up to the big TV in the presentation room. And I turned on the screen and the app screen was there. And they said, wow. And I thought, they're really appreciating the work that I put into this app. And I said, oh, well, what are you impressed about? They said, oh, how did you get your computer on the screen? That's amazing. We've never seen that before.
That would have been my response.
I said, I spent I spent like 12 hours building this app and 2 minutes putting it on the screen. And that's what's impressing you. But I do a lot of work with the golf club as far as helping set up the competitions and help scoring. And I will do that for 2 hours at night. It annoys my wife. So for me, it's just like a no-brainer. It's just finding that passion. And I just remember it's weird because I think this segues into you and what you're doing, because I remember speaking to you endlessly about freedom and about doing what I want to do with my time, about, finding something that's all about my legacy. And that was sort of my thing. And I spoke to you a lot about that. And lo and behold, I think the tables have turned a bit, because where I wanted to be self-employed and I wanted to work for myself and have my own schedule, my views are very different now. I want to find a job now that, like my job right now, I'm happy to keep because I can work anywhere in the world from home. Like I can work in the States where my family is or here. And, a job in golf when I'm older, I get to work with my passion, but I'm not looking to be self-employed with golf. I mean, I'm open to it, but I don't know that I'm predisposed to be self-employed on my own. I think I have a lot of assets, but I'm learning as I get older that I may not be very good at building a business. If you give me a business, I probably could maintain it and build it quite well, but I couldn't build something from scratch. That's not me.
Okay.
But I've always found it interesting that for all the time that you listen to me talk, I think the tables have turned. Well, I know the tables have turned quite a bit, because your situation is quite different from when we first met.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because I mean, I was going to say, I mean, I think you should fill us in on what your situation is as far as your life, and we talk about my passions with golf. Let's talk a bit about you, because you said you were looking for that thing to be passionate about. So what are you doing now?
Yeah, so well, we met at a 9-to-5 job, and it was in a sales team, and I think we both kind of enjoyed that time together. And my goal really was to try and earn as much money as I could on the side by doing my little side hustles, and save as much as I could from those wages and invest those wages into stocks and shares, with the goal then really being if like I think I started at like 31, might have been 30, 31, with the goal of getting to 40 and having my dividend stocks covering my life expenses.
Yeah.
And, used to take the mick out of me, and so did so many other people, because I sold my car, I got rid of Sky TV, I brought my chicken and broccoli to lunch every day and I used to get rinsed for that. Don't you fancy a change? And I was just always doing that, and I was trying to make money on the side to try and earn more to do this. And you know, I used to get a fair bit of criticism for it, but it gave me something to kind of strive for. I loved my job, but just having enough money to come in, you know, a couple of grand from dividends would then free me up to maybe do whatever I wanted to do. So if I wanted to be, maybe I wasn't good enough to be a pro golfer, but I could have money coming in that would allow me to play, you know, 18 holes every single day if I wanted to. So why wait until 60 if I can make it now at 40? So that was my goal. And one of the things I did to earn money on the side, because I did try a few things, as you're aware, Shawn, and the one that really stuck was publishing books online. And I did a course in December 14, still remember it, released my first book in January 15, and July 15, I was covering my living expenses with it. So within 7 months, this thing I was hoping to get maybe 500 quid a month for, you know, by the end of the year, I was earning £1,000 a month. By, you know, 6 months into it, I was like, oh my God, like my 9 to 5 is holding me back. I need to see what I can do with this thing. So that's what I did. I got to say as well, I jumped ship and I went on my own to start my own business. Never done anything like this before. No one in my family has either. This is new territory for me. And I would say that prior to doing that, I was quite like a risk averse person. Well, it kind of helped that the job that I left, they also gave me the reassurance that if it doesn't work out, I could step back into it. Because I think that's an important caveat to say, because it wasn't like I was this big, you know, kind of gun shoot and I'm just going to go for it. I did want that, but I kind of, knowing that I could potentially come back if it didn't work out, really helped me take that leap. If I didn't have that reputation, or they said, look, you're gone and you're done, then that would have been a much more difficult decision to make. So I've been publishing books since 2015, and my income has just continued to soar. Frankly, it's done really, really well. My living expenses have gone up, but really not that much. And you know, I don't really want for much, as you know, Shawn. I'm quite an easygoing guy, so I'm able to invest way more money now, and I'm in a position where I don't need to work again. You know, from a stocks and shares perspective, from a dividend income perspective. So in the last, I would say, couple of years, I've spent time looking into getting into property investing, and I want to diversify my money away from stocks and shares. Property has the potential to earn way more from an investing standpoint than stocks and shares, but it's way more complicated. So you can control what you're doing. You have you've got leverage as well, which I won't kind of go into right now, but you can basically maximize your money way more than you can with stocks and shares. Or stocks and shares, you're just hoping for prices to go up and dividends to increase. Property, you make it happen. And you can leverage certain things to really accelerate that. But it's very time consuming, and it's more risk involved with it in kind of getting set up and started. So I've gone into a course, and I'm now learning about property investing to kind of help create more of a legacy. My family aren't you know, particularly well off either, so I want to build enough wealth that I can really, you know, make a difference and help them too. So that kind of, I hope, gives, you know, a bit of background to where I'm at right now. I'm publishing books, which is still my main job. I've got investing that's coming in, but I can afford to maybe do all these different types of things. And I just, you know, the property investing feels like a job. That's the long and short of it. Yeah. It's I'm looking forward to getting into it more and the development side of it. And I'm loving the networking, and I've got my skills are coming through in certain areas, but it feels like a job, which I'm prepared to do, but not for the long term. And which made me think, you know, what would I do? I mean, let me just quickly tell you the story. My friend Mark, who said that he'd be our first subscriber, by the way. Mark, I don't know if you're watching. Hello, Mark.
It's Simon. Simon.
Oh, Simon's our first one, is he? Well,
Simon,
Mark,
he may be watching right. No, he's not, because it's on 0. But he has watched all of our episodes.
Has he? Okay. Well,
he has
Mark,
watched every one.
My friend Mark, you've got to really step up. Shawn, your camera's gone down. But
I know. All right, we're going to emergency protocol now.
Mate, I've got the ship. It's fine. It's fine. Mark,
you cover it. I'll pick this. It's Simon. Simon is the subscriber.
Well, Mark, my friend, has said he's going to step up and do this. So he's going to come in and subscribe, and he's going to watch this stuff. So I'm saying, right, Mark, you got to step up and match what Simon's doing right now, because Mark is a jiu-jitsu coach in this area. He's like my best mate in this area, and we have similar conversations as you and I do, Shawn. And Mark, we kind of had a conversation of, look, if you had like, 10 million, what would you do with your life right now? And he said, well, I'm living my dream. He's like doing you. He's like coaching golf. For him, it's like jiu-jitsu. Yeah. That's his passion. It's what he lives for, and he's coaching it, and he loves it. And I think he put it back on me and said, what would you do? I was like, do you know what? I wouldn't publish books. It's not my passion. It earns good money. I like it, but what would I do? And I didn't know. I haven't got an answer. I thought I really need to find out. I was like, Mark, you're doing the right thing. You're obviously on the right track with this. And me and Lou were walking around the garden, and I was just trying to think, like, I'm desperate to get into something where I don't give a shit about earning money. I just want to do it because I want to do it. Like you with the golf, I want to get my calluses or, broken by it. I want to get my head into something. I get so deep and I'm just here for a service, this thing that's bigger than me, that I can maybe add value, give something to, but I don't really care about the net result of it. I'm just doing it for the pure enjoyment of doing it. And this was the one thing that came up. And I said, the only thing, I think, what would I get paid for and love to do? It would be just chatting to Shawn about, current events, talking about our life, readings, stuff that we've learned this week, and keeping each other accountable and calling each other out and challenge each other, pushing each other. And, I think that you and I are, we're nothing special. We haven't done anything that's totally extraordinary, but do you know what? We have a particular set of skills when it comes to having debates and conversations and being level-headed about stuff that people get really heated about. And I think we can offer some value in that. I wouldn't say I'm well-read, but I love reading, and I've learned so much since 31. I'm now 37, by the way, so 6 years in of really spending a lot of time developing myself. And I feel like I can help other people out there too, to make some changes in their life and grow and develop as well. So I want to, I just want to be on a platform like this where I feel like I can give back in some way. And even if it's one person I help and I piss off 5 people, I'd still take that as a net positive. I'm here to try and offer some value. So I'm here to now give, really give something to this this platform, Bearded Philosophy, and just see where we get with it. And I don't really care how successful it is. I just want to enjoy the process of that.
It's interesting, because I think that really connects with something that I wanted to really, I guess, evolve with this platform. And apologies, now you're coming from the underside. There's a lot of chin here, and I was trying to get it up there.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. So we'll sort that another week. So I think, and that was, I think, one of my main drivers when I started just wanting to do a project like this, is being able to change the conversation and how it's being had. Because I think in isolation here in the United Kingdom, I follow a lot of American politics, and it's a lot more toxic in the States than it is here. And there's many reasons for that. I have strong opinions, but the thing I struggle with is how we have these disagreements anymore. And the way I like to approach things is I just like to ask people questions about their beliefs, because I think anymore we see this situation where somebody has a belief that is abhorrent. Abhorrent? What's the word?
Abhorrent?
It's terrible. Abhorrent?
Terrible.
The more I say it, abhorrent, it doesn't sound like a word. But there's this whole thing where you have somebody who let's take a look at racism. And I actually have something I want to share with you. Cool. I did give you a brief look at it. So full disclosure, it is something you had a quick look at, and it's something that I wanted to talk about, because I think that highlighted the situation I'm going to bring up highlights where we are in the world, and it surrounds racism. And I'm just going to share my screen here. Okay, so on Facebook right now, and I don't know how you view it right now, and maybe it's the crowd I roll with on my regular Facebook profile. People who, let's say, have opposing views to me tend to educate me through Facebook using memes and pictures with sentences that have no context.
Okay.
And it winds me up, because it's almost like propaganda. It is propaganda. It's not, and most of the time when I look at that, if I just spend 5 minutes Googling something or looking at, decent resources, there's a whole piece of context or nuance that's not included with that, or it's just flat out incorrect. And the conversations I get in, I could go at them and say, that's ridiculous, you're being stupid. And that's kind of the direction people are going anymore. You're going in with an attack line and you're attacking somebody's integrity. And then you're expecting them to entertain a conversation. Now, I like a good spirited debate. I like it when people are slamming me and slating me. I love the challenge of that. There is time and place for that. And I think there's people that you can have these, knockout, drag down arguments. You and I could probably really kind of, we've never really had because we're too nice. We've never really had a proper debate as such. But there are people that I've had debates with, and we can walk away and we're fine.
We've disagreed a lot, Shawn. We've disagreed on stuff, but I think we're very respectful of each other.
Yeah, and I think even then, there's a time and a place for arguments where you're taking the piss out of each other. I think there is a time and place for that. It's not something we've really done. I think when we talk about things that I'm better than you at, and I think you get kind of upset about that. Yeah, it's just. But I just want to share my screen here, just to segue from jokes into let's talk about racism. I thought that would be great because there was. So right now in the States, there's this whole thing going on with Black Lives Matter, and I think all of the protests that are happening right now are just endlessly positive. I think we need to see more protests. I think we need to see more awareness about this. Because my issue right now is with awareness. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen here, and this is me multitasking.
Okay, I'll let you know when I can see it, Shawn.
Okay.
Yes, all good.
So this was the thing that sort of sucked me in. This was this is the bait that got me caught on the reel. Because a lot of times I just scroll past it and I'm like, yeah, whatever. And I saw this. The reason this caught my eye, there was a study that this person who posted this shared from a reputable person in a reputable, I forget what it is, forum. And in that study, they determined that more white people were killed than black people by police officers, substantially more. I went and I read this study. I looked at the actual study. I looked at the actual indexes for it and how they sourced their data. And in it, the study was fine, but what they did was they eliminated, and you'll see this in a second, they eliminated nonviolent offenders. So if you were pulled over for speeding, that wasn't included. The study only researched instances where there was a homicide at the hands of police. So in those instances, they only use violent crime statistics. So right there, you have a very limited data set that doesn't necessarily tell the story about racism. It's an interesting story. It says that maybe white people are more involved in crimes where they have a gun. Maybe more white people can afford a gun because black people in the United States tend, the majority are in poorer communities. This is the reason why the coronavirus is impacting black communities more, because a lot of them live in lower socioeconomic areas. And there's a lot of things that people, I guess, are discussing when it comes to the black community and understanding sort of how, I guess, crime statistics equate. And in this, I saw this, and I, just to go to the next piece here. So I saw this and I decided to make a comment. I decided I was going to share. So I'm just going to bring that up next. Okay. So what I wrote was, the Cesario. So this is Cesario 2015-2016 study. I read into the data they examined, and this study only looked at violent crime stats. And of those stats, discounted where the suspect was fleeing or was approaching without a weapon. So this is what I had read. So in that, my goal at this stage isn't to attack this person for sharing this. I think in sharing this, I think there's some intent there that I really don't agree with and I find disgusting. But I want to keep the conversation open. I don't want to alienate somebody that I did have a relationship with at one time. This is somebody I knew a long time ago. I think you shared it. So this was the previous study that I talked about, and thought it was an interesting study and curious what the numbers were based off of. I'd be interested if there was a study of fatalities for nonviolent crime or where the civilian was not the aggressor, like this study, where the victim was where the victim was the aggressor, black versus white. So I wanted to compare in a terribly worded way that I want to know, okay, well, what happens if we have nonviolent crime? What's the divide of black, white killings at that stage? Because to me, that's a more powerful thing. Because we have people who were killed, let's say 2 out of the last 3 popular killings in America, the person did not have a weapon, therefore would not have qualified for this stat.
Off the back of that, just to give my 2 pence worth, Shawn, I would agree with you 100% in that I think it's, with what's going on right now, it's a more interesting stat to know the non-violent side of it from the escalation, because I think that's where a lot of this fear is coming from, that they're, cops are just, going up the ranks of shooting way too quickly. So actually, if someone, there was news, I don't know if you saw the Rogan podcast, but there was this clickbait item that he mentioned where it said that Hispanic person shot, dead. And you click on it, and then it was, this guy had a gun and he was firing at policemen, and he was in a gas station as well. It's like, well, actually, yes, maybe I wasn't there, I don't know, but maybe it was a good thing that he was shot rather than policemen or the public. But what you want to know is a stat, I think, of where it's gone from nothing to 100.
Yeah, and that was an interesting, because that was the Jocko Willink in podcast.
Yeah, correct. Yeah,
I watched part of that yesterday, and that is 100% the case. You have a headline that doesn't necessarily give context, and the whole point of that one is to pull you in. And I think that's what Jocko said. The idea is it's clickbaity. And just to put a little aside on that, the media has been doing this forever. They've been doing this for the last however many years. This isn't new, but it's now. The one thing Donald Trump has done is he's highlighted fake news because it's counter to his benefit. It doesn't suit his narrative. So it's something now people are more aware of. And to his credit, I do watch CNN. I also watch Fox News, so I'm not stuck in echo chambers. And I didn't notice it to the degree that, let's say, Joe Rogan pointed it out before this election cycle, before Donald Trump was president. So anyway, I just wanted to finish. Nonetheless, good baseline to start from. Hey, don't worry, we got numbers. That's great. That's kind of trying to keep it all right. And then another friend. So this person who commented is not the person who posted it.
Okay.
And this person that commented said, and this is, so I'll get to what he says, but blacks are 13% of the population. I think whites are 42%. But blacks also commit 52% of murder and violent crime. Now, what's your thought when you read that? Just not knowing the person, just what somebody says that to you. What are you thinking?
Well, I just think they're perhaps a bit more shallow-minded. With their blinkers on, they're not really looking at the big picture. They're looking at a stat that's been fed to them and relaying it as fact without really doing, I think, the due diligence to really find out a little bit more.
Yeah, I think I look at that in isolation and say that stat doesn't really tell any story whatsoever.
No, it doesn't really give you anything.
No, that's I forget. My father told me about this, and somebody, if we do have somebody watching this at any point, please comment if I misquote this or get this incorrect. But there was a statistic that when, and I think I've said this to you before, when people started wearing metal helmets in war. So when they first came out, there was more people shot down or killed by head injury or headshots than ever before. So in isolation, that statistic, somebody may say, oh, well, clearly helmets are people are getting shot because the helmets are bigger, so they're aiming at it. When you could also say, well, in reality, and I think the conclusion was, well, people felt safer with helmets on, so they exposed their head more. But as a statistic doesn't give you a conclusion, because there's many reasons for that,
Of course.
So I just said, just keeping it light. I'm not going to really get into the fact that, and I think in this, and if this person ever watches this, apologies. I just wanted to keep it civil. As the conversation goes on, the next thing he says, effectively, he's feeling sensitive that I think he's being racist. Now, I think you need the income parameters. So I said, I think you need the income parameters of the offenders and the percentages you're citing. I personally don't think that has much meaning in isolation. So I'm just trying to keep it very civil. I'm not challenging his beliefs. I'm giving him my opinion of his statistic because I don't want to disengage him. And, it's, for me, it's, my thought is, so honestly, my thought is that's a shocking statement and there's definite intent behind that. So effectively, I've been a bit dishonest. You're going to see here shortly, because he said, next, why should income have anything to do with it? Now, just to sort of a little aside, my view is nurture versus nature. I think so, poverty is the number one cause of crime as far as, criminal behavior. So cities are going to have more crimes. That's my baseline for everything. So he said, it's simply a stat of the percentage of violent crime and murder. That's all. Whites commit 47%. I'm not posting this to justify cops killing black or white people. I've said nothing about cop killing. I've said nothing about that to him from what he's commenting on. I've just said, I don't trust that stat. So my reply, sorry for any confusion. Sorry, actually, let me go to the next slide here. I am well prepared. Boom. So sorry for any confusion. I was only commenting on your stat. I was only commenting on your stat. You didn't say anything about your intent. So again, I'm just commenting on this. I don't get the same conclusion from the data you provide. The numbers don't give enough information to form a conclusion. That's all. Didn't say anything about your intent. Discussion is always good, and we don't live in echo chambers and all that. And of course, the smiley face emoji, which makes everything okay. And again, I'm just trying to not disengage this person from future conversation.
Yeah.
Because again, I've told him, well, let me read the next few bits because that's going to be add a bit more context. When people post, so he writes, when people post that percentage, they absolutely have that intent, and I wanted to make sure you knew it wasn't my intent. All good. Now, there's a piece with that where when we take a look at racism, and this is, I hope you don't mind me kind of going on because this is something I wanted to get off my chest.
You carry on.
Somebody can be racist and not racist, so not treat people differently in person. So racism for me is a very explosive word. And you can, in my view, you can be when you look at systematic racism, I don't think it's necessarily something that's understood. So for instance, I spoke to somebody once before. It was a tiny young lady who she would be nervous whenever she'd see a group of black gentlemen walking down the street, young black gentlemen. She's not racist, but that's a very racist feeling to have. Now she owns that. I'm obviously not going to give her name. And it's something that she honestly feels. And that is racism, but she's not racist. And to be labeled a racist is a game changer and shuts people down. Now, there's nothing wrong per se with being racist. So this is going to be something that's going to be clipped and recorded in the future. There's nothing wrong with being racist per se, because we all have biases and we all have natural prejudices. Racism being one of those. It's how we act and treat people. So if you're aware of those biases and you act to counter that, then you're okay. I don't think you're racist in the sense that you're actively racist. I think everybody, again, has their biases. And I think this person automatically knows the intent of that statement, has used it, and then has, without me prompting them, been very sensitive that they were being accused of racism. So this person doesn't, in my view, without asking them, this person doesn't treat people that are black with any disrespect, but has a belief that there's something with black people that they're more prone to crime. That's my conclusion from there.
And I can see where you get to that on the back of him defending the point in the manner he has done. He's not really tried to give the caveats or some reasons as to why those numbers might be the case or the opposing view. So if he's backing that, I can kind of see your point from where he might have some underlying prejudice and thought there. But I can also see from the way that he's responding in that way that, you'd hazard a guess that he's not a racist, in air quotes.
No, in my view, he is a racist, but he's not. And that's not something that you can really get across in a tweet very easily. So it moves on. He's very polite to me because he just said, look, in other words, he said, I'm not going to go over it because I don't like to, big up myself. I mean, I am pretty knowledgeable and understanding and all that, but let's not, no, I'm just kidding. So yeah, he says something nice. And then he goes into this, you mentioned system racism, which I never said anything about systematic racism. So he's probably been having a lot of conversations about racism in the last week. I hear it all the time when I hear what I think about Jim Crow laws. So if I recall, I think Jim Crow laws were segregation. So rules for blacks, rules for whites. Okay. What's the system for racists? Is there any data behind it, or is it just an opinion? Now, I'm not going to spend too much more time on this, but effectively, I think he's wanting to get into a conversation, and there's a bit of a trap he's setting. And again, I don't think he's doing. I think he's trying to help me. And the trap is right down here in this FBI.gov link that doesn't go anywhere. And in it, effectively, I've just given my opinion on, look, what I was saying to him, just to summarize, is I believe in systematic racism. You put people in a poor area and they act poorly. Not all of them, but you have people that act poorly. Then, you don't give them the opportunities, the income. People are going to treat you differently, especially if you're in high crime areas. And, racism was only a couple generations ago, really.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a huge knock-on effect to that. And that's what systematic racism is. You have, you don't have, 50% whites and blacks living in a city where jobs aren't the best and accommodation isn't great. And schools are based on, it was not income tax, but property tax. So all of those factors come into poor education, low income. There's going to be crime in those areas, regardless of whether you're black or white. And that's all I'm saying. And then he effectively then says, well, what did he say? So I just give him a few bits. We should have a proper catch up. As just my source is FBI.gov 2016. So he doesn't give me any studies. He doesn't give me any specific databases I can check out. He gives me FBI.gov and the FBI stats, which kind of ignores some of what I've said. But in that conversation, I'd like to think there was some positive steps made. Now, this is a very roundabout way of me saying, this is, I guess this is the kind of conversation I want to bring. I want people to come on with potentially revolting views, and I want to be able to have a conversation about that. Now, I'm happy to call people out when I think their views are revolting, but I'm not going to necessarily do it in a way that's going to disparage them. So my view is people have come to conclusions for what I think ultimately are pure intentions. So even somebody who's got a terrible point of view, out of somebody with mental health issues who's a serial killer, we're not talking about them. Somebody who is, let's say, even in the Ku Klux Klan, they have terrible, abhorrent issues. I'm going to try that word. I'm just going to keep sticking with it. Abhorrent.
Working it.
And their disgusting views and their hateful views. But there's going to be a process that they got there, that there's going to be some element in their mind that they're thinking the right things and doing good.
Yeah.
And I think, if you want to speak to somebody who has views that are so diametrically opposed to you, you need to appeal to, to the fact that you don't have all the answers. And I think Absolutely. This is one of those situations where there's an element in this where I have some arrogance. I do feel like I, in this instance, if I'm being perfectly honest, there's an element in me that feels I know more, I'm more educated and more nuanced in this conversation. So I know going into this, my failures are going to be my ego, because they're coming to the party with really shit stats and a viewpoint that I think is very uneducated. But if I approach that conversation with that on my shoulder, that conversation is going to end. Because I think at one point he says something along the lines of, I didn't close it already, but when people start to quote this percentage, or when people say things that start slinging insults, the conversation's over. And I think that's true. I think the second you start, questioning somebody's integrity, the conversation's over. You can say what somebody's views are disgusting without insulting them. I think it is possible to say what you're saying. So let's say somebody I'm speaking to is obviously racist and open about it, and let's say the views that we think this person has, they're quite overt about it. Yeah. I think in that instance, you can say, look, if I was in this person's position, I would be disgusted by those views. I need you to explain to me why you think that's okay and how you see, so right away, I'm trying to not make that conversation about I'm judging you and I'm going to insult you, but you need to be accountable for what you say. And that's very much, where I want to take a look at these conversations. I want to bring in these things and I want to question them, but at no point am I going to say you're an asshole. Now, if somebody calls me an asshole, that might break down a bit, but I think it's just really important in this day and age that we focus on the issues, and we can only win hearts and minds if we just keep pecking away without, cutting people off.
Yeah. I mean, thanks for sharing all that, Shawn.
Thanks for staying awake, by the way.
I just about held it in there, didn't I?
Yeah.
No, mate, that was awesome, especially as it was so relevant to what's going on right now and so recent, and bringing it to the table. It was a great example to run through. What you were saying about, you can call them out essentially for what they're saying in their opinion, without insulting them, I think is a really important point to try and bring home, because that will only, you're kind of being as bad as them. You're not improving any situation, any dialogue, or any further progress with them trying to have a bit more of a progressive viewpoint. Because what you potentially, had you not done that and you had been a bit more personal and attacked their integrity, you've switched off from the fact potentially that their mum and dad have raised them to be a certain way. That if you see X person, then you spit on the floor, or you fight them, or you do whatever, because in more of a jokey sense, but it had an impact on me. I'm Welsh. My spelling, Huw is the Welsh spelling. My dad is Welsh. He's a very proud Welshman. I grew up there for 4 years. Now I sound English. I've not got the accent because we moved to England because of Dad's work when I was about four and a half or something. So I've been schooled in England, but my dad raised me as a Welshman. Some people say, whereabouts in England? I'm not from England. I'm from Wales. And when sports playing, I don't support England, I support Wales. And actually what my dad used to drill into me, honestly, was that we support whoever England are playing. That's what we do. So, Spain against England, football, we're cheering on Spain. And that's what we did growing up. So how did that impact me? When I'm with my friends, I'd start cheering on the Spanish, and it used to kind of get on their nerves. And they'd say to me, like, "What are you doing? Like, how can you support them? How could you do that?" And I'm like, "It's just because they're playing England. That's why." And it's like, I did it for a bit of fun, and actually, I realized myself. My dad kind of kept that. My dad's no longer with us, unfortunately, but my dad kept that. My dad had lived in England all his life, but he kept this kind of. He did want England to lose, and he would never attack an English person. He'd never verbally abuse. It was just that he genuinely wanted, the bitter rival of Wales, England, to not do well. So that would somehow elevate his Wales that he was so passionate about. So, I've kind of experienced that on such an almost pathetic small level, but I saw that myself from them being around English people and realizing, actually, I've been in England all my life. I speak English. I can't even sing the Welsh national anthem. And I support all the England players for Man United, the team I support, an English team. Like, this is a joke. So actually, I support, I think it was around university I started to go into the phase of just supporting both teams. But that took me a while, and that was drilled into me. So you can imagine having, my dad was hugely respectful of me. I had a great upbringing by him. But imagine if he was a bit more hard going, and that you better make it known that this is the way we think. So going back to my point now, by you maybe taking that angle, you're not considering what that person has been through. I had that my entire life, and actually my nephews, my dad's grandchildren, he was bringing up the same way up until he passed, that they support Wales and they sort of cheer on whoever England are playing. So it's like you can see it. You're saying it's only a generation or two away, but that has lasting effects, and that's still present. It's still there, even in that small sporting arena of Wales versus England. I've witnessed that.
Yeah, it's interesting because you have that context and that experience, and I think the one thing, from my end, I've lived a very fortunate life where I've not experienced any. Well, actually, no, I was going to say I've not experienced any prejudice, but I constantly am berated for being American. It's very, very difficult in this country.
I apologize.
Yeah, that's okay. No, I genuinely haven't had any sort of experience of being discriminated against. I'm a white dude. And even in those conversations, I can't talk about it from a position of identification. So I really am. When I talk about these things, I want to talk about this in a very specific way, because it's not my place to say how the country should move forward. I can have an opinion. I'm not comfortable being too public with that because I don't necessarily have that experience. And I think it's really important that, you have a lot of Black leaders that are sharing their experiences. And, you see in these situations, a lot of white men making policy for people that deal with something that they can't identify with.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, it's almost as if you know, I'm making rules for, you know, for I don't know, I can't think of anything. I'm stuck. I have no idea what's it related to, but you don't want to be making rules and setting guidelines for people who, you know, walk in a totally different manner than you.
Totally agree.
So I just needed to get through that because I was just running out of time and I couldn't think of the metaphor. But yeah, I think it's interesting to look at it from that perspective, from the inside, and it gives you a bit more of an understanding of sort of what if and how I've gotten here.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing it, mate. I totally agree. I mean, I've been, you know, you're kind of joking about the American thing. I'm ginger, as you can see, with a ginger beard. And when I had hair, I used to get ripped like constantly for being ginger, you know, because I don't think there were any black kids in our year or in our school where we were brought up either. So it's whoever's different gets stick. And when I moved high schools, there was one guy that was a Muslim, and he got some stick, but he was on his own and he took it really well. And he was still friends with everyone. He wasn't bullied physically, but verbally he had stick from that. But I don't know how he just got through it and handled it really well. But I've been very fortunate. I've just not really, you know, 4 eyes, baldy, ginger, you know, I've experienced it on the light end, but I can't speak to that. I don't think what it's like being a woman, or, you know, like a black person being scared for when they're pulled over.
I'm constantly asking Nick, so my wife, I'm constantly asking her whether something is sexist or not. So we watch Murder, She Wrote every weekend, or in the evenings. I love that show. God. And every time somebody speaks to Jessica, so Jessica is, you know, a very distinguished, successful writer, and she does get her nose into places it doesn't belong. Let's be honest. She is an author, yeah. She is just like you know, she's always, you know, tagging along with the police, and whenever the police catch the bad guy, they always say to her, "Listen, Jessica, we want you to go in, and we're going to hide back here. We're just going to be in the other room. Now, the guy may have a gun. All right, just want to let you know that they may have a gun, but I want you to go in there, and I want you to let them know that you know what's going on. But don't tell them that we're back here. Don't tell them that the police know anything. We just want him to think you know. And then when he starts to pull the gun out and maybe shoot you, we're going to then come in and the jig is up." So I don't know. I had to share that. But watching something like Murder, She Wrote, because it was made in the 80s, every time someone talks to Jessica, they're always like, "Listen, lady, all right, listen." And never thought about it. That's quite a sexist thing, because it's not like, you know, it's, I don't know. It just is very the way you say it. "Listen, lady, you know, the men are talking over here. You don't need to be here. This is men's stuff. All right. So listen, lady, why don't you just know your station and stay back there?" And my wife said, "Yeah, that's pretty sexist. It's quite derogatory the way they say that." Because they wouldn't say "hey fella" with the same sort of intent, you know. "Hey fella," it's more of a challenge. But "listen, lady, listen, I'm going to explain it to you, because I'm the man here and I'm dealing with, you know, important matters. You go bake a cake." And it's just interesting when you go back and you watch those older TV shows, which I can't get enough of, or even the other one I like, Walker, Texas Ranger. So another amazing show that I don't know how it was ever made. And in that, the woman is always like you have the main woman character who is strong in her own right, but she's been kidnapped, I think, about 10 different times. She's always calling help for Walker. She's the weaker character. And it's you start seeing these themes in these older shows, you know, women fainting and screaming and passing out, you know, whenever they see blood, and the man comes in and says, "Oh, I'll take," you know, it's just, yeah, a bit of a divergence, but it just reminded me of that. So I need to speak to my wife to know what's right and wrong effectively.
and so you should.
Yes. So yeah, so that's a heck of a start, I think, to our first ever recording. We touched a bit on us and talked a bit about racism, maybe for the last time. Probably not, but it's one of those topics that I think you have to treat it with a lot of respect.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this whole podcast thing in general, mate, is just, you know, we've got to get things up and running, and we're we're practicing here. That's what we're doing. We're throwing shit at the wall, maybe literally, with what we're saying. So it's really important that we get feedback from you guys to let us know what type of thing you want to see from us. We're very flexible. We're here to serve you and just to try and provide the most entertaining, informative show that we can and give you the best of us. So, let us know if you've got any questions or anything that you would like us to cover as far as a topic. If you've got any personal questions, like golf for Shawn, or about investing for me, for example, then Shawn's is putting these banners up across the bottom. Get in touch. We're at that stage where you've got real bonus because we're starting out, and you're probably one of very few, a handful of people, select few in the world that know about what we're doing right now. And as a result, you get the very best of us. So we are going to literally answer in depth any question that you have for us, or any demand that you have, or something that you want to see. We can really give that full service. So please, I couldn't be more strong about that. Give us questions, give us topics to cover. We've got loads that we want to go through, but it's really important for us to air things that we want to do, like Shawn did today, to talk about what we're going through, our challenges and learnings, and also then to connect with you guys. So bring us your best, and we'll give our best in return. Have you got anything else to come and add to that end, Shawn?
No, I think you've summed it up well. I think we just want to get a conversation going, and we're not even opposed to bringing in, if somebody has, we will be announcing some of the more, I guess, theme-oriented things. I know one thing I do want to talk about at some point, which I think we both can share on, is anxiety, for example.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's something you and I can add a lot of value to, and something that I wish there was something around that I could maybe identify with and watch from people who've experienced it in our shoes.
Yeah,
and if there is somebody who feels like that they can add value to that conversation, I don't think, and I'm not going to speak on your behalf, but I'm not opposed to bringing somebody externally in who wants to share their views on something, or having people call in even and speak to us.
I support that fully.
Yeah. So next broadcast will be Sunday, 4 p.m. I think we on British summertime. British, is that at BST?
GMT.
+1, isn't it?
Greenwich Mean Time.
Isn't Greenwich Mean Time in the winter and BST? So isn't GMT +1 right now?
Maybe.
How long have you been living here? How long have you?
I don't know. It's just I'm the world revolves around me, Shawn. I just find whatever the time is. That's it.
So it's Huw time is what time we'll be here. 4 o'clock Huw time.
4 o'clock Huw time. Yeah.
And I think we haven't determined what our next topic or what our topic's going to be outside of our usual catch up. So that's something that we'll share on these social media platforms once we've decided what that is. But as you can see here, we have Twitter. So at beardedphilosopher1, and I'm going to start to share things on there. Facebook, if you're not watching on Facebook, it's Bearded Philosophy. Pretty straightforward. And then if you're not watching on YouTube, just simply search Bearded Philosophy on YouTube, and we would ask that you like and subscribe to the video so that we can get a bit more people into the conversation. Like you said, I don't care about the money side of things. If there's a point where we have a following and we want to spend more time on this, then that may change things as far as how we approach this. But right now, it's just fun. We just want to get people involved in the conversation. It's going to be a very casual situation. Like I said, if we do have a larger following, we want to make sure we can access more fans, and we may change some of the format to be able to get out on more platforms. But right now, it's just a bit of fun. It's going to be very casual, very relaxed, and at no point do we care about making any money on this. It's just about sharing and maybe building a conversation around different topics. All right, well, that's it. I'm going to sign off, and it was good catching up, Huw.
Yeah, I'll speak to you soon, Shawn, and goodbye.
Take care.